And like they say, to be a leader, you need to lead. And to be able to lead, you need to be well ahead of the rest. Or potentially years ahead of the rest. All right. Thank you so much, panelists. One last photograph, maybe. Thank you. I don't know, I'm sure most of us here are familiar with cricket. So, like they say, you can either be a line and length bowler and just keep bowling at one spot, or you could be like a Shoaib Akhtar, try a bounce or try a slower one, try and scare the batsman out, and maybe that is when you'll be taking more wickets. So, just with that analogy, I think somebody who's actually taken a very big leap and has come to Pakistan, and I'm sure it's going to go a long way for Pakistan and for the stock exchange itself. The last session of the day, transforming Pakistan's capital market, bringing stability, restoring confidence, and boosting potential. We're just coming to what is going to be a very important component of the day. And we know that the Pakistan Stock Exchange, which was like 19,000 points in 2013, is now at 46,000 points. And I think even today we've done quite well so far post the tax amnesty scheme. I'd be very pleased to have Mr. Richard Moran, the Managing Director of Pakistan Stock Exchange. By way of introduction, Mr. Moran is an experienced financial markets executive with over 30 years of experience spreading across various emerging markets and in Canada. Throughout his career, Mr. Moran has contributed in various segments of financial markets, including but not limited to formulation of securities markets, regulation, and supervision mechanisms, derivative markets, central depositories, clearing systems, government securities markets, and investment advisory. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for, I think it's a very interesting part of the day, and we all want to know what is coming for the stock exchange. Is the retail base going to widen? Are we going to have more brokers? Is the market going to test 55,000 anytime soon? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Moran, Managing Director of the Pakistan Stock Exchange.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I will answer your last question first. If you'd like to know if PSX is going to 55,000, ask your broker. Don't ask me. I am not in the business of predicting where the stock market is going. Even when I was a money manager, I was not in the business of predicting the direction of markets. In fact, you don't need any ability to predict the short or medium direction of the market in order to do very well investing in the stock market. I didn't intend to start my comments on that, but since you opened the door, anybody who invested $1 million rupees in PSX 10 years ago and did nothing for 10 years, today finds themselves with 8 million rupees in their account. Okay? The fundamental message is this one. Now, first of all, I wasn't aware that I was going to be the last speaker of the day. It's in an unenviable position because I am the last thing standing between you and your next commitment, whether it's going back home, going to the office. So I'll try to make this as brief and interesting as possible, and keep a few minutes if you want for you to ask questions. You're all finance professionals. I don't need to explain to you the importance of capital market in economic development. The stock exchange is not a side business where you invest your spare change. It is a fundamental mechanism. It's at the heart of economic development. There will be no successful Pakistan economy, growing, vibrant economy, if we don't develop the capital market in Pakistan. Today, the numbers are simple. Pakistan has 250,000 investors. That is, there are 250,000 Pakistanis holding investment accounts with their brokers in Pakistan. That is a far cry from where it should be. And again, I refer to these numbers regularly. I don't mean to belittle what has been done so far in Pakistan. In fact, I look at PSX and I increasingly use the analogy of PSX as a 70-year-old startup. We've got tremendous growth opportunity. We're at the ground level in terms of market development. And we're going to make it happen. So from the objective, simply stated, is in the medium term, and by medium term I would mean between 3 and 5 years, the simple objective is to go from 250,000 investors on PSX to a more respectable number of 2.5 million investors. And in fact, in my view, Pakistan, with a population of 200 million, should have an investor base of at least 5 million investors. But keeping this objective of 2.5 million investors in mind, it means that we propose to increase the investor base in Pakistan tenfold. As we do that, we will transform Pakistan's capital market, will have a fundamental impact on the economy, and of course will have a fundamental impact on the companies where you work. And as CFOs, as you see the price-earnings ratio on Pakistan Stock Exchange migrate from 9 to 10 to 12 to hopefully 16 and 20 times earnings, you'll be advising your CEOs that perhaps it's time to consider listing on PSX and raising capital. Capital will become cheaper on PSX. Ultimately, that's the objective. For PSX to better play its role of allocating capital from Pakistani investors to Pakistan companies. And again, as we do so, we'll have an impact on your companies, and we'll also have an impact on investors. As I said earlier, anybody who invested 1 million rupees on PSX 10 years ago has 8 million rupees today. So I don't think any investors should be passing that up. So where we need to succeed is in convincing middle-class Pakistanis to invest their life savings on Pakistan Stock Exchange in order to achieve their financial objectives. That objective may be financing a down payment on their next house. It may be paying for their kids' education. Most likely, long-term, their objective may be to finance their retirement. Either way, middle-class Pakistanis must come to invest in Pakistan-listed companies in order to meet these long-term objectives that they have. Now, if I was middle-class Pakistanis, in fact, if I was an investor anywhere, the first question, my first criteria before I invest would be, is my capital safe? Okay? So as we embark on a transformation project at PSX, on a reform program at PSX, in 2018, we will be addressing 3 fundamental areas. We have 3 objectives, 3 tasks that we want to perform in 2018 in order to achieve our long-term objective of increasing the number of Pakistanis investing on the stock market. Number 1, investor protection. We will get nowhere, and nothing we will do in terms of marketing, nothing we will do in terms of investor education will make any difference until we can guarantee to Pakistani investors that their money is safe when they invest with a Pakistan stockbroker, with a PSX stockbroker. And I'll be candid in my comments. Today, we're not there. Pakistan has an unacceptable, unenviable track record of investor protection. Too many investors, despite the very good long-term return that PSX investors have realized, unfortunately, too many of them have lost money to broker default and, to be blunt, to broker fraud. We're very aggressively addressing this issue in 2018. So number one priority at PSX is investor protection. How are we going to do that? Very simply, two things. A, we drastically reduce the number of incidents of brokers going insolvent. Second thing we do, because we'll never eliminate completely broker defaults, even in developed markets, occasionally a broker goes bankrupt. So when it does happen, the Pakistan Investor Protection Fund will offer far better protection than what it's been offering so far. So very quickly, how do we do these two things? To reduce the incidence of broker default, we reorganize the regulatory framework in Pakistan and put in place a single entity in Pakistan that will be in charge of regulating brokers. One single, competent, powerful, independent entity in Pakistan in charge of regulating brokers. In fact, if I arrived late here today, it's because I was in a meeting with SECP working on the implementation plan for this new regulator in Pakistan. So we'll drastically reduce the incidence of broker defaults. The other side of the equation is, again, to better protect clients who are caught in a broker default. That's the Investor Protection Fund's mission. There, we'll reform the IPF, the Investor Protection Fund, will be reformed to eliminate the current limit. We currently are limited to 25 million rupees per broker default in terms of how much we can reimburse investors who have lost money to a broker default. That maximum per broker will be eliminated and replaced by a guarantee. Every single investor on PSX will be guaranteed that up to probably somewhere between 1 and 2 million rupees, they will be completely reimbursed if they lose money to broker default or broker fraud. Okay? So we have the resources to do it. We know the recipe. We are going to bring to Pakistan best international practices in terms of investor protection, so that we are in a position at PSX to finally tell middle-class Pakistanis that their money, their capital, is as safe with a PSX stockbroker as it is with a savings bond, a Pakistan savings bond. The level of protection will be the same on the other side. So number one priority is better investor protection. Number two priority, because again, we want to convince the 20 to 40 million strong middle-class Pakistan to look at PSX, we need to have simple, accessible investment vehicles for them. I think mutual funds, for somebody investing in the stock market for the first time, mutual funds are a very appropriate vehicle. There is an equally attractive vehicle that doesn't exist in Pakistan and that we are working very hard to implement here, and that should be here within in 2018. It's called an exchange traded funds. So Pakistanis in the coming months will have access to exchange traded funds. It's a security that you buy and sell on the stock market as easily as you buy the stock of an individual company, except that it gives you exposure to the entire market. So in one transaction, you'll be able to buy a security that gives you exposure to all 30 stocks that constitute the KSE 30 index. So that's coming to Pakistan in the next few months. And that, I believe, is the ideal product to bring middle-class Pakistanis to invest on the stock market. I often use the analogy, the exchange-traded fund will be to Pakistan's capital market what the cell phone was to the African telephone market 20 or 30 years ago. 30 years ago, Africans didn't have access to phone lines because the phone network simply didn't exist in Africa. Okay? But when the cell phone came, Africans leapfrogged the old technology of the landline, and everybody acquired a cell phone. So the penetration rate of cell phones in Africa went through the roof. I think exchange-traded funds have the same potential in Pakistan. Most Pakistanis don't buy individual securities listed on the Pakistan stock market. They don't understand that. It's too complicated. You need to know how to analyze a company. Are they making profit or not? Are the prospects good or not? That's too complicated for the men and women who don't understand the stock market. ETFs, exchange-traded funds, will allow them to leapfrog single stock picking and buy one security on the exchange that will give them exposure to the entire market. They don't need to understand anything. They only need to listen to Richard Morin telling them that you buy this security, you keep it for 10 years, and in 10 years, its value will be multiplied by 4, 5, or 10-fold. Yeah? So second thing, so first one was investor protection. Second is a simple, accessible investment vehicle for middle-class Pakistanis. Third, I know you're CFOs and you're not marketing executive, but the third part of the equation is distribution. We need to reach out to middle-class Pakistanis and make it easy for them to open an account with a stockbroker. This is the distribution network. Before the end of this year, we want anybody in Pakistan to be able to take their iPhone or Google phone and within 5 to 10 minutes go through the entire account opening process. We want a streamlined account opening and give everybody access to account opening using their cell phone. That requires that we coordinate between PSX and CCP, CDC, SCCP, the tax authorities. We'll do all that. A lot of processes will be automated and integrated and coordinated in the background. But to you, investors, it'll be as simple as taking this, going through the account opening process, signing in online, using biometrics to identify yourself. It'll be connected to your unique identification number, and you'll be on your way to investing. Okay? So theoretically, you can go from nothing, not knowing much about the stock market, to, again, having that guarantee that your money is safe because the investor protection fund is there to ensure that. Second, you'll be able to open an account in a few minutes. And third, you'll have access to a simple product that gives you access to not only all the stocks listed on the stock market. When I talk about exchange-traded funds, we'll have equity exchange-traded funds that allow you to buy the KSC 30 in one transaction. But we'll also have bond exchange-traded funds. So you'll be able to come to the stock market, buy an exchange-traded fund that gives you exposure to a portfolio of bonds also, government bonds and corporate bonds available to trade for investors. Okay, so 3 simple things we'll do in 2018 to attract those 2.5 million investors that we want to bring to PSX. Of course, behind that, there's a number of enablers that won't happen by itself. Among the enablers, obviously, is technology. PSX will be investing heavily in technology, a new trading platform, a new clearing platform, a new market surveillance platform to keep an eye on the people who do business for you and making sure they stay honest. So we'll invest heavily in market surveillance technology, and we'll also invest heavily in market data to make market data more available to all to Pakistanis and to international investors. PSX itself needs to go through a profound reorganization. As we went through the demutualization, the sale of a strategic stake in PSX to Chinese investors, and as we went through the IPO, PSX at the governance level has been reorganized, has been transformed. Now we need to go down to the organizational level. So we're recruiting a chief operating officer. We are recruiting a head of marketing and business development. We will be recruiting head of product management and research at PSX, all in an effort to transform Pakistan's capital market to better serve and better meet our mandate that, of developing the capital market. Once all of that is done, of course, we do all this in close collaboration with our friends at SECP. No national capital market can work effectively and develop harmoniously without close collaboration between the regulator and the stock exchange. And this is what we have. We've always had a good relationship between Pakistan Stock Exchange and the SECP. I think that relationship has continued to improve as we have built a common vision as to where we want it. And again, I'll be candid in my comment. There hasn't always been a common vision between Pakistan Stock Exchange and SECP. I'm very happy to report that that common vision is now in place, and we're working together as a team to make it happen, including, as I mentioned earlier, better investor protection. And finally, once we have all the pieces of the puzzle in place, the technology, the investor protection, the retail product, once we have better access through our cell phone, once all of that is in place, we go out and we market. We invest heavily in investor awareness. We need Pakistanis to understand the vital importance for them, not just for the Pakistan economy, but for them personally. Why is it important that middle-class Pakistanis invest, save for the future, and invest on Pakistan Stock Exchange? There is no better place. There is no asset class available to them that will provide them better long-term return than PSX. So we will be investing very heavily in investor education, in investor awareness, in marketing. We'll be working with our stakeholders, the brokers. Will be working with ICAP on those various initiatives to develop capital market and bring middle-class Pakistanis to invest on our stock market. I had given my